Welcome back to Connection to Excellence, where I decided to interview some really very successful entrepreneurs and also entrepreneurs who are on their way to get really successful. And today my guest is John Sealey. And John Sealey is original from UK and is based now in Hamburg. And John sees himself as a global citizen who has lived and worked around the world and thrives in a culture of diversity. I like that. So John is a serial entrepreneur with interest in consultancy, property, and coaching. In addition to his coaching business, he is an original managing partner of the Observatory International, a global leader in helping corporations such as Siemens, Daimler, and Bayersdorf successfully navigate their iceberg while implementing digital transformation strategies to future-proof their marketing organizations. So he has 30 years experience in sales, marketing, advertising, coaching, and consultancy to help his clients smash through their pack ice to achieve game-changing breakthroughs. So I'm really happy and I feel really honored, John, to have you here today in my show.
Well, thank you very much, Kornelia, for having me. Thank you for inviting me to take part in this. I'm very excited as well. So these things are always great fun, and it's always great to kind of have the opportunity to talk with, like-minded people and get the message out there, really.
So thank you so much, John. So before we continue, if there are people who watch this show who doesn't know me, my name is Kornelia Müller. I'm a leadership and high performance coach. So I'm specialized to connect people with their heart and with their intuition so that the brain and the heart works totally perfect together to achieve really great results in any area of their life. So let us continue, John, with the interview. So John, you work as a successful business consultant. So what is the attraction to coaching people?
Well, business is all about people. You can have systems and you can have structures and you can have technology. But frankly, I still very firmly believe, even in the era of digital transformation, we still need good people, smart people in businesses who actually, make the things run properly. And we need the human dimension in our organizations as well, because we're all here, and I mean, maybe we'll all be replaced by robots one day, but I don't think it'll happen in my lifetime, and it won't happen in the lifetime of a lot of the people I work with and coach. So, I want them to actually realize their full potential. And this whole area of digital transformation, this is sort of this buzzword that's kind of sweeping the land and sweeping the globe. It leaves a lot of people thinking that they're inadequate, that the skills they've had in the past are not up to scratch anymore, that they themselves, as in their roles, are not fit for purpose. And on top of that, you have all the usual things that happen, that people suffer from stress and overwhelm, and we all know, the fashion term burnout, and whatever that means, and it's quite a complex term to explain. And I witnessed this. I'm not saying I witness this every day in every business I'm in, but I witness it on a regular basis with the different range of clients that I have. I have a coaching background, I have coaching qualifications, and I'm kind of informally coaching people the whole time in any case. Beyond the kind of the consultancy work that I'm doing, I'm getting people to reflect on why things aren't working, on how their teams could be performing better, how they themselves could perhaps be more in the space that they want to be in, and actually, living a balanced life. And for me, I don't think I dislike the word work-life balance. I dislike that term because it sounds like work is here and the rest of my life is over there. I prefer the expression whole life balance, which I think means that all the components of our life should be in balance together. And work is just one of those. So it shouldn't be held out separately. It should be included in everything else we try and get sorted out in our lives. So, basically that's the point. I coach informally anyway. Lots of people have asked me to coach them, and I've started coaching them as well as doing the consultancy work. For me, it fits together.
Yes, it's so true. Thank you so much. And what kind of people are coming to you? So what's a typical coaching client of you, and with what issue they are coming to you?
Well, it's interesting because it really is quite a variety of people. So on the one hand, it's top management people who want to perform, who are performing, but are seeing that there are certain aspects in their lives that they could perhaps do better. Some of them are kind of like leadership issues. They're sort of, almost technical issues, and some of them are very much more personal issues to do with mindset, to do with motivation, to do with emotional connection to what they're doing. And then there are people who are running teams, and they want to work out how do I put together a vision that motivates people? How do I create a sense of purpose amongst all the people that I've got working for me, so that we can actually make a contribution together to achieving the goals and objectives we've set? And then quite apart from that, I get individual people who are in different working environments, or maybe they're coming back into work after they've had a child, or they've had a sabbatical, or they want to do something else. And one of the things that I think is a common theme through a lot of the people I deal with and coach is they're stuck somewhere. They need a breakthrough. They're not necessarily, I was describing at the beginning, there's lots of people out there who are suffering from breakdown or sort of chronic stress and chronic anxiety. But not everybody is like that. I mean, there are people who are kind of going about their normal lives. But they have a feeling there's more potential in there. There's something more that they could be doing. They could be living a more fulfilled life than they actually are at the moment. But can't quite get there and can't quite work out how to do this. And I work with them to identify, well, what are those breakthroughs that they need, if you like, those game-changing breakthroughs that would make all the difference to them. And of course, for each of us, that's going to be a different issue. It could be a different trigger. So I work with them to help define that, to help unlock that, if you like, so that they can then go forward and do whatever it is they actually really want to do.
Great. So how do you do that, this game-changing breakthrough? So how can I...
Well, I mean, there's lots of methodologies that I use, and some of them you really can only do in one-on-one coaching, and some of them you can talk about because they're more generally applicable. I think maybe it's quite good to define what I think a breakthrough, a game-changing breakthrough is. I think the game-changing breakthrough is that aha moment. It's the moment you really, the light bulb goes on and you go, oh, obviously, oh, that's the one, that's the thing. That's the domino. If you think of those, if you see those things on the World Championships on the television with all the domino stones that kind of sort of go round and kind of all fall down. Well, there's the one domino stone that you trigger to make all of those others move. And what I'm trying to find with people is that one domino stone that makes the difference.
Wow.
Okay. And I think a lot of the time I had a quite nice picture in my mind. If you're thinking of why that is important to find that one thing that really makes the difference, that makes the difference. I can remember as a child walking in the woods near the house where I lived with my father, and we were walking next to a stream, so a little river, a stream. And at one point, the water was getting stuck and was starting to sort of overflow into the fields. Because, although it wasn't a wide stream, I mean, it was maybe a meter wide or something, because there had been a storm and a branch had fallen down, and a branch was blocking the flow of water. Because of this one big branch, lots of other smaller branches and twigs and leaves were all getting stuck behind this big branch, and that the water just couldn't flow anymore. So what did we do? Because I mean, it was fun at the time, and we thought we might also be doing something useful. We actually got to both banks of the river and lifted this big branch. I mean, it wasn't huge, but we lifted this big branch out of the water. And then, of course, the water started flowing again, and all the other little twigs and branches that were blocking the way, and the leaves and everything, all just started flowing with the water. So if you take that view, then what I'm trying to find with people is the big branch that's blocking the water, and he's actually causing all the other little twigs and leaves the kind of to mount up behind that big one. Yeah. So that's kind of the picture I like to use.
Great. So, and how do you use your intuition? I guess you also use really your intuition to help the people to see what is really the problem of the person.
Well, one of the things I like doing, I mean, and you're absolutely right. I think intuition is a key part of being a successful consultant and being a successful coach. Whatever methodology you use, you actually need to kind of sit back and observe people and actually feel what they're saying. And one of the things I like to do as well is I listen a lot to the language that people are using, and at the same time, observe their body language. And you see whether people are connecting or not. People say, oh, I'm going to do this, or I'm going to change that, and you can, if you don't see that their body is going with that, then you kind of torture test it a little bit, and you can't, you prod deeper to actually work out whether they really believe that, or whether maybe there are also limiting beliefs. I mean, I'm a great fan of self-talk and the power, and also the destructive power of self-talk. What are we actually saying to ourselves? What are our internal conversations? And I like to hear what people are actually saying to themselves. And when you ask people about their goals or their objectives, what I get quite often, and it doesn't matter who these people are or how much business experience they have, one of these simple things, people are very good at telling you what they don't want, yes, rather than what they do want. And again, there, I kind of think, I have the picture of, imagine you're in the supermarket and you're trying to buy something for dinner that evening, and you phone your partner, your wife, your husband, or whoever it is, or even the kids, and you say to them, I'm in the supermarket, what would you like to eat this evening? And they say, I don't want pizza. Great. I don't want pizza means, okay, we rule out pizza, but it doesn't rule out the other 30,000 things that are in the supermarket. So to ask them, well, what would you like instead of pizza, is actually a far more constructive thing to do and far more helpful. It actually, well, I mean, certainly in the case of the supermarket, so that you actually have something that you can take home and people want to eat. But if you transfer that to people's lives, if they're actually saying, if they're capable of formulating what they do want rather than what they don't want, they're already making a lot of progress towards rewiring their brain and giving themselves more options, more possibilities of doing something different than the way they've always done it.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So, John, where can people start making a difference in their life? How can they start?
Well, it's a good question, and I think there's lots of things that you can find on the internet. There's lots of things that you can do to help yourself. I mean, I give people something achievable to start with. So what I like people to do is to say, coming back to my whole life balance that I was talking about, I encourage them to look at 4 initial areas that I find are kind of getting people down or getting people stuck most often. So those would be health and fitness, relationships, job, and money. You can look at more of those, you can kind of break them down into sort of smaller units. But if you take those 4, health and fitness, money, relationships, and the job, that's where at least 80% of people's problems lie, or their concerns, their worries lie, or where they're getting stuck. And if you're taking, I come from the UK originally, and if you think about our school rating system, we had 1 to 10, where 1 was the worst and 10 was the best. So 10 out of 10 was the best result you could get at school, 1 out of 10 was the worst result. If you're in Germany, it works slightly differently. It's 1 to 6, where 1 is the best and 6 is the worst. So you can take whatever system you like. But if I stick to my system, then if you take each of those 4 areas and you just say, more gut feeling than starting to kind of do a big brain job on this, just trust your gut. What number, when you take each of one of those 4 areas, which number comes to mind? The first number that comes to mind for each one of those. And very often you'll find people are around a 5 or a 6 or a 7. And if they then start trying to think about it too much, they'll say, oh, no, it's got to be at least an 8. I can't possibly be, I would almost be ashamed of myself if I didn't say an 8. But the reality is, this is where you have to start being honest with yourself. The reality is, if your gut said 5, then go with a 5. And for each of those 4 areas where you're less than an 8, then I would say there's work to do. There's work that can be done. And I encourage people to write down for each of those things a list of things that make it a 5. So what are the negative points? What are the zeros? The negative issues that are making it a 5 and not more than a 5. Okay. If something positive comes up, then please also write that down, because we need more of those. But the experience shows that people start writing a long list of things that aren't good, and why the score, maybe even they start correcting that score down to a 4 or something like that. And then we come back to this question, well, what do I want instead? So I say my health is actually only at a 5. I've written down a list of things why it's only at a 5. It's very easy for us to sit here and say, well, so change things. But how are you going to do that? Well, I think one of the things you've got to do is you've got to have something that you want to aim for. And I'm a big fan of developing vision. A vision for some people is writing down how they would see their health. So if you say, in 6 months from now, or in 12 months from now, and I wouldn't go further than that, how healthy will I be? If I've got my ideal health, or at least a whole lot better than I am now, how would I get that score of 5 up to an 8? What would I have to do? And to help people write that down, I encourage them, and I think this is not new, but I think it's a very successful technique, to do a vision board. Do a vision board for that area of your life. So take health, for example, and write and put together pictures from magazines, pictures from the internet, words or headlines that you find that you think attract you, that you have an emotional connection to, and put this board together as a way of articulating the goal that you would like to reach for your health. And some people are good at writing stuff, some people are good at writing their own little story about meeting themselves in 6 months' time. So I get people to do that as well if they choose to do that. Then you've got where you want to get to. And what I also like people then to do, I do a little over-the-shoulder technique, and I'm just going to show you what happens. So I would encourage people that they've got the vision board in front of them. And here's their chair, and they take a step back, and they look at John. I in this looking at his board, and I imagine that I am a well-paid consultant or coach advising John on what to do. And I say, dear coach, what on earth could John do to improve his health in the next few months? To help brainstorm the ideas that are realistic. And it's that kind of little change in position from actually sitting here and trying to work those things out to actually standing up and taking a step back, which allows people as well to get a little bit more movement in their brains and get out of that, that vicious circle that they're in. Final step, when they've written down a few of those things that they've come up with from looking over the shoulder, I just say you take one of them and you implement it for every day for a week. So you say, I don't know, let's take a very simple example. I'm going to eat an apple every day this week. So I eat the apple every day this week. And as long as I actually did that, then I reward myself at the end of the week with something special. Now, maybe it's a piece of chocolate, or maybe it's, I buy myself something nice. I saw, I don't know, something that in a store that I like. I just put a little bit of something to reward myself. I then do that for a second week and reward myself again. And I go for a third week, and then I reward myself at the end with a bigger reward, because we know that if we repeat something at least kind of 20, 21 times, the brain actually starts getting used to this new pattern and says, this is just as good a pattern as the old pattern I had when I was eating sweets or doing whatever. So so taking 4 areas, scoring them 1 to 10, developing a little vision board or a little vision story around that, looking over the shoulder and saying, okay, what kind of action could I take? And then taking one of them for 21 days and actually transforming that into a new program in our brains is one of those little help yourself patterns that I think people can, quite easily do.
Wow, that's really a great advice from you. I really am impressed. That's really, wow. I also, because for me, I never was thinking about that, what keeps you in this area. So it's totally different thinking. So I make this exercise also for me.
Yes, tell me how you do it. I absolutely try and practice what I preach. And I have actually found that this exercise works pretty well for me as well.
Yeah, that's really amazing. I was really, when he was talking about, I was like, oh, that's really amazing. This is a great exercise.
And keep it simple, because people have never climbed a mountain before. They live by the seaside and they suddenly decide they're going to climb Mount Everest. Yeah. Why not actually just take the local hill as a first step?
Yeah.
Because we need to get practice in changing things, and we also need to see results. We need to go stage by stage by stage, because then it becomes normal to actually make that progress.
Yeah.
Whereas if we're starting here and we go there all the way to the other end in one go, then we're more likely to fail. And then we beat ourselves up, because we then start with this thing, I told you so, I can't do it. I can't be healthy. No. I don't know how. I haven't got the discipline. I'm bad with money. Whatever it is. And this is where we start beating ourselves up again. And we're trying to get out of that.
Yeah. Great. Super. So is there anything else what you would like to advise to the people? Is there, but you said already.
I would just like to encourage people, I've been through breakthroughs in the past. I've been stuck in jobs that I didn't like, or I've been doing a job that I was okay, but I was not feeling motivated by it anymore. Or there are certain things, I've had health issues. I've been through the range of things that everybody has. And I would say, it really is not impossible to change a few little things in your life. And those few little things help you remove the big branch that's blocking your stream and blocking your progress and your enjoyment and fulfillment of life. So it's actually not as difficult to take that first step. And I would always encourage people to do that, because if you've got that gut feeling you need to change something, then have the courage and believe in yourself and invest in yourself enough to actually go out and do that.
So great. Thank you so much, John. So do you have any new project in the future, or is there something in your...
Well, there is a new website coming out within the next few days, where people can reach me, and that's johnsealey.com. Quite easy.
Yeah,
and I'm as we go along, I'm actually putting together more content, more projects, etc. And there's a lot of interest, as I say, interestingly, from my corporate clients as well, with regard to coaching as well as doing the consultancies. So it's just kind of developing, and it's very exciting. So new projects coming along, new content coming along. And I'd be happy to be part of anybody's journey.
So amazing. So I will put that underneath if people are really interested to get coached from you. And I can imagine there are a lot of people who like to get coached from you. And so I thank you so much, John, for this amazing interview. It was really a pleasure for me.
Thank you, Kornelia. Thank you very much for giving me the chance to kind of give you a little view on how I see the world and how people can help themselves.
Yeah, thank you so much. So, and for all the people who are watching this show, I hope John and me, we were a contribution for you. And how I said already before, I will link underneath your details, your contacts. If you like to contact John, you can do so. And we both wish you a great, fantastic weekend. And we will see us again next week here in Connection to Excellence. I wish you all the best, all my love to you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.